we were in Phoenix last night for Raw, and we had the big championship rematch. Now, we've been talking about this on our show for weeks now leading up to this moment. We, of course, had Jey Uso, who was in the tag team matchup at Money in the Bank. He was with Cody Rhodes, and he was taking on Logan Paul and the world undisputed WWE champion, John Cena. So he had a busy weekend. Oh, by the way, he had a big tag team matchup on Raw last week where he was joined by Sami Zayn, and he had to take on Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and they abruptly destroyed them during that match. And as the week went on, or the weeks, I should say, a storyline began to build here where Gunther was kind of pointing out, like, Jey, you're too busy.
Right.
You're too busy, and you're not taking my match with you seriously enough.
Well, was he right now?
Well, we predicted beforehand opposite on this matchup. I chose Jey Uso, and you went with Gunther.
Yes.
My reasoning was that they were going to use Jey Uso's win in light of all the adversity that Gunther was pointing out to him as a way to possibly earn Gunther's respect and kind of maybe even start to turn him face.
So you went into deep into this storyline.
I did go deep. I went for the unexpected, way unexpected. Now you went with Gunther.
Yes,
what
I did.
was your reason for going with Gunther like ahead of time? Just because the bad guys are having a moment?
I think it was, yes, I was following a trend of heels winning in the whole weekend. And that was very trendy. So Gunther fits that trend. Also, he's Austrian. So I had to go with the European Brotherhood.
Sticking with it.
Yeah.
Okay, I can buy that. Becky Lynch, of course, won the Intercontinental Women's Championship over the weekend. We had Seth Rollins win the Money in the Bank and Naughty Naomi win Money in the Bank.
Yes.
So the heels were having a moment, and you decided to stick with the heels. I went in the other direction. Turns out I was wrong, Nika. But, oh, wait, before we get to that, I was not alone in being wrong. Because before the match started, there was a Who You Got in tonight's World Heavyweight Championship rematch on WWE Raw, and the poll was leaning heavily towards Jey Uso retaining, though it wasn't like a landslide.
Yeah, I can see why. He's a popular guy. He's loved by the audience. He has a huge support and following, so it's rightfully way to assume that he will retain the belt.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, it's not unusual for there to be a championship matchup on Raw, just to keep the audience interested and to have stakes and real stakes on the line. But it is unusual for the belt to, I think, change hands at a non-main event like pay-per-view. It does happen because, like I said, you got to keep that every once in a while. Throw the Netflix crowd now. You got to throw them a bone. There's the SmackDown, there's going to be a title change that happens there probably once a year just to keep it interesting.
But they've been talking about this rematch for a long time, and this was long time coming.
It was built up, and they really sold the idea that Jey Uso was hurt.
Right, they did. So therefore, this whole matchup with him being hurt and not 100% the way we want him to be plays into the continuation of the feud, because I'm gonna play out the victim here and will challenge Gunther eventually for another title match.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I recover.
Well, and so I don't know which slide we're on right now, but as you can see, at some point Gunther has him in a sleeper hold here, and he has the poster artwork, and it says, "Your new world heavyweight champion is Gunther." No one tapped out.
Nope.
That was the big talk ahead of the match. No one got pinned here. And that makes me feel like this is going to be kind of unresolved, because you have Jey Uso winning by submission at WrestleMania. And then you have Gunther winning by basically a knockout here. He was out cold. He couldn't raise the arm.
So he was out. He was out cold, and Gunther wins.
He couldn't raise his arm, so Gunther's arm gets raised, and he's the new champion. Gunther just had the biggest shit-eating grin on his face that I have seen him have in a while. He believes that he deserves that belt, at least his character does. And so he's kind of a fun villain in that regard, don't you think?
Yeah, this is his second time holding the belt, right? Or is it third time?
Second time.
Okay.
Yeah. He had it previously since SummerSlam. I think SummerSlam of last year. Don't quote me on that. Again, if you're just tuning in for the first time, we started watching wrestling again in January, WWE specifically. So yeah, we're new and we're still learning all the past history that led up to these events, and we're just reacting to it
as it
comes to us. I thought this was also a little bit cruel that they did Jey Uso dirty in front of his own kid and like made a big deal out of it, or were they all in on it and having fun?
I think they all having fun.
He might want to go on a mini vacation now or something.
He's been fighting for so many weeks now.
Yeah, he did a bunch of matches.
He's showing up, whether he's helping or distracting or fighting.
Multiple appearances weekly, multiple appearances within shows.
Right.
He's been busy, and he probably does need a couple of weeks off to recover.
And that takes a toll on your body.
It does. It does. I wonder if he's not going to be going on the trip coming up soon into Saudi Arabia, which we're going to talk about in a second because that is exciting.
But he's so big. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how he could miss it, right?
Yeah.
And that's coming right up. So, well, this was kind of predicted by Nika to end this way. It was not predicted by me to end this way, but nevertheless, now that he has this like quote unquote injury and he got really manhandled by Gunther.
Sure.
They can literally play up like a couple episodes or a little time off. I think we'll see what happens, but I would guess that these two are going to have a rubber match.
Yeah.
The nice thing about it ending this way is that it gives them a reason to continue the feud a little bit. And normally I don't like when these things keep getting on and on and on, and maybe Gunther will have some successful title defenses
in the meantime,
particularly at the upcoming events. Who knows?
Well, we also thought Seth Rollins gonna show up and snatch the belt, but that would have been kind of anticlimactic if he did.
Yes, we'll talk about Seth, I promise. Nevertheless, we did speculate that he might come out and try and snatch the belt from Jey Uso right here had Jey Uso won because of the injury. They were all played up. It was all there. The only thing that didn't happen is Jey Uso winning. So Seth Rollins didn't want to go in there and face Gunther, I guess. Triple H sort of gloating here on social media, capped off a huge weekend for WWE with fire main event on WWE Raw. And he's, of course, talking about the whole Money in the Bank presentation and the Worlds Collide presentation that went down in Los Angeles. They, of course, had SmackDown in Bakersfield and then Raw in Phoenix.